We'll now turn back and make another modification, however. This modification is as follows. We'll take the ABC analysis, take its properties, take the general, take the winter ABC model, do a choose. So it's going to jump straight to the model that we needed. And now take the parameters, and we're going to do a more intricate analysis this time. So it's we need to edit these fields, so we're gonna it's all dark bluish. So what we need is to click again here and do a modification, which is by clicking display change. So now let's remove the current rule. Let's remove the current rule from here and start from the scratch. A ranges from 0 to 20%. We have an open one. B ranges from 20%. So we'll actually do a lot of classes now, each of them covering 20% of the revenue. C class, again an open one. D class is from 60 to 80% of revenue, and the E class is from 80 to 100. And actually, it has some kind of an error in there, so we should do this, that the rest of them are going to be classified as Fs, so we get a separate class for those that are left over from here. Now, you can see that we cannot do more than 6 classes here, so that's why we didn't do it by a 10-fold separation. Now, let's activate this thing. Yes, it was okay. Now let's go back up. We're here. Close this, run it. Executing. Let's pause for a second. And we're done. Now let's switch to Microsoft Excel. Open up the file, ABC Model 1. We see that we now have very many classes here. Okay, let's start digging on this data a little. So first of all, we have the same companies, so it's again 34 million for the most important business client, and so forth. So we can now see that really already after 79 is with us. Let's see where the B class ends. So we're done with 40% of revenue after 287 companies, and so forth. So what we want to do is a bit of computing. Let's first check whether this really is a cumulative percentage and whether it works fine. So let's do a percentage column here, and we'll do such a thing that the first one is the 0.6% for the most big or biggest client. And the second one is going to be a cumulative percentage minus the previous cumulative percentage. So we'll now see, we'll move from the cumulative back to original percentages. We see that the second most intensive client has 0.57% on revenue. And we'll double click here and we see that they really are all decreasing and they're lined up correctly. Now, let's do such a thing that we right click on number 1. So Excel is always a good tool for doing like quick moves on data like this. So I'm going to insert a few rows here by clicking on number 1 and then do a equals sum of all those here. So it's a sum from B4 to B19,787. And it turns out that the entire revenue has been $22 billion for Tyson Frozen Foods. And now let's do such a thing that we'll right click on C and do an insert here, and we'll calculate those percentages ourselves. We'll see whether they mean exactly the same thing, and something's going to come out of this right away. So what we do is we divide this current client's percentage sales value by the sum, and we'll F4 fix it by clicking on F4. So we got a $B$1 here, and here it is. This indeed is 0.6 something percent, so there might be a little bit of a discrepancy between those two calculations. Now let's go down and we'll see one mistake there, namely some of the claims somehow have been marked to have a negative transaction size with us. So what we do is we select all those and press 0 and Control Enter. So we'll just zero out those negative numbers. We don't have anything to do with this anyways. So now we're ready to dig in a bit more deeper in this data. So let's do a pivot table, and let's see how it summarizes by that. So we click on the table and insert pivot table. Always a quick way of summarizing data. And what we do is we're going to select the classes, which is the ABC class, and it gives us all the classes here. And now we'll click on the revenue, and here are the sums. So the A class really has, like, out of $22 billion, it really has like $4 billion of revenue, and they're almost exactly the same size classes, so the calculation has been done right. And somehow those Fs, the reasoning behind the F class is actually this way: that in the F class there are really those which have. I'm going to go to the border of F class and show you this in a second. So in the F class, there are those which have sales under $100,000, and these are actually they form a very low percentage. So you see that the cumulative percentage has risen to 100 already. So this is really like a very minuscule percentage. Although sales are very small as compared to the entire bunch, and somehow they're classified as those F class in here. We can also count the companies. So I'm going to take the Kunwe. Now it doesn't really know how to revenue this, so I'll put it under here, and it automatically switches to count. So we can do like summarize by count. If we right click on this Kunwe, and we can see that really the A class has 79 companies, the revenue has 208, always a 2,000. The last one has 7,000. You see where the very small transactions are summarized for 10,000 companies. Now let's also summarize percentages. So I'll put the sum of percentage, and you can see that it's really 19. See where the are always equate, something like that, and 0.1, which is like 1% into those F category, which didn't categorize quite right. And with pivot table, it's always that we can click on class name A, and it straight away gives us all those companies listed in a separate sheet. Revenue, see where lastly the historic graph here. So if we, for instance, take this cumulative percentage and put it, just select it and do an insert, they're all math, then we can see that really if you want to get 80% of revenue, you just don't even have to go much further than 10% of the way.